topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. And it's Tuesday morning. Just wonderful to be here with you. And I want to share a story. So I was talking with one of my clients, and they were talking about the interview that they were going to go for, around how you can focus on AI as a tool. But the key is it's not about looking at artificial intelligence as a tool, but as something that you can train, something that you can show how to think. Even though AI has reasoning capacity, it's still what goes in, what comes out. And as we were talking, she used Impact Feasibility Matrix from my book, and her interview went really, really well. So if you're looking to get ahead in your life with AI, if you're thinking how to future-proof your career, then our book, The AI Agency, is for you. So be sure to get a copy of it. We look forward to supporting you. Reach out, let us know. And today we will be talking about AI itself with our guest. Welcome, Dilip.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show. So,
Pleasure to be here.
Dilip, do you have a moment that you recall from youth or your childhood when someone or something left a positive mark on you?
Actually, the one story comes to mind. This was I was studying in South Dakota. I was doing my master's in computer science, and that was the time when I had gone back to school. I was working for a while. I had gone back to school, and I remember a time when we were pregnant with twins, and my wife delivered. Um, this was during like exam time, so I had to shuffle between attending class, and being there for my family. And I remember a time when my professor calls me aside and he goes, "I heard that you had babies," and I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And then he says, "I don't want you to come to class anymore." And I thought he's going to drop me off. He's like, "No, please, I need this." And he goes, "No, I didn't mean like drop out of the course. I mean, you don't have to come to class." And he takes a post-it note. He scribbles his phone number. This was back in the day. We were just beginning to have cell phones. And he writes down a phone number and he goes, "This is my home number. Anytime you're ready to learn, call me. I will come and teach you. I
Oh,
know
wow.
what the responsibilities are of a father, and you got to be there for your family." I mean, that was like, shout out to Professor Doug Goodman at the University of South Dakota. But I thought that was one of the nicest things anyone has ever done to me. He
Oh,
did
my.
not, yeah, he didn't make me go through exams. He gave me an assignment that I could do from home. Imagine
Mm,
working from home back in the day.
right,
So,
right.
yeah.
So it's fascinating. It always touches my heart when we talk about someone, who has left that beautiful moment in your life, and how how generous that is, how kind that is, just understanding, and it makes you feel so good. And that is important. And I invite each and every one of our listeners to go ahead and do, like, one kind thing. And since you're talking about that, it's so beautiful. Like, one of my friends, Melanie, I want to give her a shout out. She has a nonprofit handout, and she's helping so many people that it's amazing that little things that we can do can leave such a huge impact and a lasting impact on people's lives. So, as you finished with your masters and with young ones, where did your life take you?
It was quite challenging at the time. I'm an immigrant. I moved from India at the time, and I'm talking more than 25, 26 years ago. And yeah, it was. I ended up finding a job at Oracle in the Bay Area, and I had to make that move from South Dakota all the way to Oracle, and I did that. And yeah, from then on, I worked at big companies like Oracle, Salesforce, Intuit, Atlassian. I was there during the IPO, and then of course more recently at Meta and Google. But then it was quite a journey because I started with user being a usability engineer to getting into insights and then ending up in product strategy, and then finally when I joined Meta, AI found me, and then I got into some very interesting projects that I never thought I would do. Like one project that comes to mind is a project that I did where I wanted to study the impact of social media on the welfare and safety of women in India, and it was quite revelatory. What they go through in terms of social media and the pressure of social media. I got to work on Reels, improving the recommendation and ranking. And then at Google, I started working on AI infra, so got really deep into it. But the journey was fantastic. And my wife and I, we opened a preschool about 16 years ago. And that's been going along. She's the CEO and director, and I'm the finance guy. And yeah, doing our bit for our community.
That's fantastic. So, talking about that, what are some of the lessons you have learned along being in the corporate world that you would pass on to another tech people?
Okay, tech type lessons. I would say, um, I think what's really important is for every tech person to understand, especially now, uh, kind of get into that futuristic mode. Two things. One is try to really understand what's going on right now, what the implications are of technology, especially AI. And the second thing that I think would serve anybody at any time is the art of introspection. So you want to sit and think about the kind of questions you just asked, which is, what am I doing here? Where did I come from? What is me? Like, what is, I know it sounds a little metaphysical, but it's basically you're trying to get stock of who you are, the role that you're playing, and what is unique about you. And that
Mhm.
is extremely important because today we are seeing AI creeping in and taking over part of what might be people's identity. And understanding that and preparing for that, I think, is super critical, especially in an age when there's so much misinformation about AI coming from multiple sources, including, some of the most powerful people that are like, oh, by end of the year, it's very likely you won't have a job. Really? Or, things like, it's coming. It's going to take over everything that you know and everything that you are. And where's the reality there, and what can you do to position yourself? So I think if you had to talk about one word, it's going to be introspection.
Introspection. And that's powerful because so many times what happens is that most tech people, they want to work for the name brand companies, those top seven companies. So I want to work for Meta, I want to work for Google, I want to work for Oracle. So you have had a chance to work for most of the big name companies. What would you tell? There are a lot of young professionals who go through rounds and rounds of interview, and then sometimes they don't get through that. From your experience, what are some of the things that they could prepare for the interviews so that they can get that job in the big name companies?
That's a pretty interesting question, because I don't know if there's one secret sauce that'll land you an interview or much less a job, but I can tell you what I went through and share my experience. One is, don't get intimidated by the name of the company. I
Mhm.
think it's about you understanding what you are bringing to the table. And I think the first place where, I've been on both sides. I've interviewed and built teams in these companies, and one of the things I see is, like, people approach this with, as they're coming in, there's so much imposter syndrome. And they're like, oh, I'm interviewing. I remember the very first time, I lived in Vermilion, South Dakota, and I don't know if anyone's been there, but it's not a big city. The tallest structure at the time was our school's tower, the siren, which would go off when tornadoes struck. And there was one structure that became taller than that, was when the McDonald's opened there, and the McDonald's arch was taller, and we were all pretty mad at it. But that's not the case in the Bay Area. I come in from an interview at Oracle, and I'm seeing the headquarters at Redwood Shores, and it's a pretty imposing structure. Those buildings, the lake. I think they still call it Lake Larry after Larry Ellison. Uh, but that's a pretty impressive sight for somebody that comes out there for the first time. And then the thing that took over me was fear. Like, wow, I am going to work here? No way. you know and so the first thing I'd say is, like, not face that, like, not get into that mode. The second thing I would say is, be truthful, be yourself. Very important, because I see, so now everybody is building their resumes with AI. It's really hard to tell who's done what, but I can read the AI on the resume. I think people are like, "Oh no, this is so clever. No one can tell." No, you look at like 200 resumes, the 201st resume, you can tell exactly which sentences were doctored by AI and which is not. You don't need a machine to do that. And third and most important, if you don't make it, or if you don't get a call back, know that it's not you. Currently, a lot of the big companies, they have really reduced the size of their recruiting teams,
Mhm.
and you have to go through machines to even fall for your resume to fall into the hands of a recruiter. And I wrote a little post about it, where I wanted to hire somebody who I knew back from a company I worked at, and this individual is incredible, right fit for the team, everything was perfect. I wanted that person to start interviewing. So I reached out to the person. I said, look, I got a great opening, it's fantastic in my team, why don't you come join? And he was very excited. He sends his resume, and within hours he gets a reject. And he doesn't know what to make out of it. He's like, sends me an email a couple days later going, I don't know what happened, but I got rejected within hours of sending my resume. I talked to my recruiter, and she was like, I don't know what happened. I never saw it. Um, and so it's understand that, even with, of course, long story short, I made him apply again. I physically had him email the resume, showed it to the recruiter, and then forwarded it to the hiring team. He went in through all the interviews. He aced the interviews, and he's working in the company now. But the point being that many times it's not you. The system's really large. We're trying to make sense of everything, and if you don't make it, it's okay. There are other companies, and there are
Absolutely.
other chances. So it's not one and done.
Mhm. No, those are some great points, Dilip. And let's flip it, because as I work with a lot of my clients, also, like, a lot of people are in HR, and especially now with ATS, with your applicant tracking system, as you said, people are preparing resumes with AI, and now we have AI systems that are reading those resumes. So when we flip the side and when we are looking from a HR perspective, what can they do that systems do not overlook those talents?
I want to be a little brutal here and say hire more people. uh, because it's not about laying. I think we over indexed on the power of AI,
Hmm.
and it's not as good as a lot of people uh, say it is. I know this because one, I was working on the inside, but also importantly, once I broke out of the corporate world and started my own gig, I work with AI. I write, I have it write code. I build products. I don't know, 12, 13 hours a day, and I can tell you it's the types of mistakes it makes, the types of you can give it different kinds of personality depending on it could be a 2-year old throwing a tantrum, it could be sort of a snake oil salesperson just saying everything you do is so amazing and you're so great, and there's the world is blessed to have you in it, and this is a fantastic idea, why aren't you writing books about it, and just kind of that fake sort of pumping you up stuff that AI does so much, and the times when it goes, you should do this, and I'm like, but I already told you I didn't, and it goes, I didn't read anything you sent me. I'm like, why am I sending you information if you're not even reading it? I'm supposed to tell you to read it. Yeah, that kind of stuff, and it's not nearly as good as you think it is. And what has happened now, to your point, Divya, is people are writing resumes with AI, and AI systems are reading it. So it's actually your hiring funnel is just a conversation between two AIs,
Hmm.
and and that's kind of scary.
It is scary. And the thing is that, as you mentioned, that AI is still nascent because if you kind of think about it, it's still a toddler. The expectations are huge. And that's where building those metacognitive skills that I talk about in my book is super important. Because as you talked about, being brutal, or like, if you're having an honest conversation, it is what you put in, that's what it comes out. Because you've been in automation and all that. When you used to do the coding, you have to have API and you have to connect so many multiple things. So similarly with this, to get that thing out of AI, it's important that if you're bringing in a tool, because a couple of things that I've seen with a lot of different companies, either they've invested so much money in the AI tool and it's not working, and that's the reason people lay off. Or another is that they're thinking that AI is the solution for everything, and now we need to lay off people to find the money to bring AI. So it's about bringing the two things together. So you talk about that the wrong question is, what can I do that AI can't? So, what is the better question?
The better question is for you to understand where you stand and what's unique about you and about the people in your company. I
Hmm.
think one of the again, I'm going to be really honest with you here. Is I think it's not a smart thing that companies have done to lay people off the minute they got AI in their hands. And um, this was funny because even a few days ago, I got a there was a business owner who was talking to me, and the first question he started, he's new to this company, and they brought him on as a C-level exec. The first question he's asking me is, can you come in and help me identify about 20% of the workforce that I can lay off? And I told him, like, what makes you think you need to lay off 20%? Uh, that's so it's not about, oh, here are all the skills that AI can do right now. And people are now being considered as like a subset of, they're just a grouping of skills. So if AI can do 80% of your skills, that's good enough, and we can lay the person off. But I'm saying it's the other way around, like, augment AI with what the person's already doing, upskill the people, and then get 3 times the productivity from them that you are getting right now, because they're capable of doing it. They're capable of learning. There's so much that one of the sad things that has happened is companies pigeonhole you into these little positions, and employees start believing that that's all they are. And which is kind of sad because they're like, all I do is this. And I'm like, no, but you can do this, this, and this. And they're like, no, not really. This is all I do. This is where I have my experience. This is my job title. This is my job responsibility. And that's all I can do. And I want to push back on that, saying, everybody is capable of doing so much more. And unfortunately, they're not even given a chance to defend themselves against AI or to prove that they can use AI to better themselves and increase their productivity. They're laid off before they know what hit them. And I think it's coming back to the companies, to be honest. I think they're realizing that. And that's why one of my friends that got laid off about 3 weeks ago gets a call back from her manager, and he's like, "Could you at least work as a contractor doing the same job?" And she goes, "Why? What's going on with you people? You lay me off, you take away everything, and then you want me back in, but this time without the benefits? Like, what's the thought process there?"
It's really haphazard what's going on. So as you've mentioned that, the other question is to like find out what are your sweet spots, what are your strengths. So when you talk about those strengths and all that, how can people go about it?
I think there are. It's really important for, like I said, you start with your introspection, right, and then you start by seeing where you're able to have that. What is it that you are doing, right? What is the value that you're giving? And this is for people and even businesses, right? How clearly and uniquely valuable is whatever it is that you're bringing to the table? If
Mm-hmm.
you're not able to articulate that, just, and I'm not talking about bringing stuff on a resume, no, this goes beyond, this goes much deeper, right, where you're really sitting down and you're going, okay, bare bones, right, let's get real about it. What am I bringing here? What is, if I am not working for this team or for this company tomorrow, what are they missing that only I could have brought? And if the answer is a frightening not really much, that's, you're identifying the problem right there. Is you're not bringing unique value and nobody knows. And more importantly, you may think you're bringing value, other people may not notice that. So the first
Mm-hmm.
job is to understand, take stock of that, do an audit on yourself, a real sincere honest audit on, if I don't exist tomorrow in this company, what are they going to miss? The second thing is, if somebody else comes in, like, what if the company is hiring me, if somebody else comes in and says, look, I can do whatever it is that Dilip is doing for 50% the price,
Mm-hmm.
and the company goes, yeah, I can hire two people now for the price of one, then it's only a money game. And if you're stuck in a money game, you're losing.
Yeah.
The company needs to go like, no, it doesn't matter, you can be 1/10 of what Dilip's bringing, but I still want this person because he's bringing this kind of value, right? I'm using myself
Mm-hmm.
as an example. Uh, and how much of the value you're bringing is transferable versus, are you clinging to it? Now, this is the scary part for people, and I heard this just. Your timing couldn't be better, Divya. It's almost like we talked about this. I promise we didn't, for people who are watching, but it's like this person was coming and saying, uh, I'm afraid to share anything with people because people are taking away the credit for my job. The environment has gotten really toxic where no one trusts nobody. And I have a manager who is trying to steal my credit so that, this person can remain longer in the job. And that limelight stealing has become so commonplace in companies that I would be like, yeah, I don't know if being in a toxic environment is good for you. I know you're really afraid to quit your job and go someplace else because you're afraid you'll never find a job. But also, this is an important thing I want to tell everybody, is take stock of what the job is doing to you and the qualities that your job is bringing out of you. If it is going to make you a jealous, nervous wreck who is afraid to even share if it is giving you trust issues on your colleagues, your managers, your peers, and people that report to you, I don't know, you really need to think about whether you're a right fit in that particular position for yourself, for your well-being. I had a doctor who told me that it's just a job, and you may forgive it, your blood pressure won't. Divya, I think you're muted.
So you're absolutely on spot, Dilip, because blood pressure will not. That's very powerful. And as a matter of fact, just recently, one of the very big companies, they changed their performance review parameters. And what it has done is where there was collaboration, now people are competing with each other. So that toxic environment is not doing good to people. And so, as you mentioned, that look in, have that introspection, figure out, what you're bringing to the table. So, as you mentioned, it's almost like creating that defensible zone, right?
Absolutely. And thank you for mentioning it. Yes, the defensible zone is the place where your natural affinity intersects with market demand, and there's a part of that AI can't reach. I'll just explain what that is. Now, everybody has a set of uh, capabilities. That's everything, the sum total of everything you're capable of doing. Your job, taking your dog out on a walk, just being able to make yourself a cup of coffee, every single capability. Within that, there are things that you do well. There could be aspects of the job that you do really well. There could be aspects in your personal life that you do really well. Maybe you're a great listener. Maybe you're somebody who inspires and motivates people. Maybe you're really able to do that coding that no one else can seem to do. Uh, and within that is a natural affinity. This is why you are put on earth. This is what you're born to do, but maybe you've forgotten that. Maybe companies did not give you the opportunity to show that side of yourself. Maybe you're a fantastic public speaker and you should be on stage more, but no one's giving you a chance and you're not taking the chance on yourself. Maybe you're a great team builder and no one's giving you a leadership role. But this is your natural affinity. And I'll give a sports example. Is you see a player play really well, and even when they retire from the sport, their natural affinity is the sport. It's so strong in them, they never leave the sport. They become commentators, they become coaches, they're still around the sport. You can always see them attached to the sport. That is what I mean by natural affinity. Now the market demand has to intersect with a part of that. Like the market needs to pay for some of that affinity, and that's where you live. That's your defensible zone, because that's the part that AI is going to it's going to be really hard for AI to take. Now, please note, I used the word defensible. I didn't say safe. That means as AI is growing more in power, that zone might shrink or that zone might need to move. And that's where you come back to the point I mentioned about introspecting and being aware of everything that AI is capable of doing, and understanding this dynamism between yourself, the market demand, and AI. So you keep moving to a place where you're safe and you're valued.
Now, that definitely makes sense. So, you mentioned that as you exited Meta and Google, you created something that can help people figure this out. So, tell us more about that.
It started when I asked the question for myself. I said, what, it's, I don't know, call it midlife crisis. I sat back and I went, what have I done? What am I doing here? What is going on with me? Is this what I wanted to be? And usually that happens, I would say closer to your 50s, but I've heard some people doing that even earlier in their lives. They just sit back and go, what am I doing? Is this really, like, I wanted to be an astronaut, and or whatever it is when I was growing up and people were talking about it. I thought my career was going to be this special thing. Now I'm a cog in the wheel in a giant machine, and all I do is this stuff that I never thought this is why I went to college and got that master's and PhD and whatnot. Uh, and when that happens, that's the honest moment when you sit down and go, okay, now I'm hearing AI is coming. I've seen AI, and it's pretty frightening. It can do a lot of things that I didn't think it can do. And I don't know what's going to happen to me. More importantly, I don't know what's going to happen to my kids, because I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I'll come back to the point. I talk a lot with all kinds of people, and I had a college grad, and she came to me and she's like, I'm going to University of San Diego, California, San Diego, and I'm doing this program, and I'm being told that that program and my job will be obsolete by the time I graduate. I've not heard of anything more scary for somebody starting their life out. Like, you
Yeah.
work all your life, you do all these things to get into college, and it's a very good college, and you're being told that that job, that whole domain might become obsolete by the time you graduate. What are we doing to our young people? What is the message we're giving them? And all these kind of questions made me sit back and think about, is there a place that where we are secure, at least in the near future, where AI cannot get to? So I did sort of a Venn diagram for myself. It's on my website, and it's on defensiblezone.ai. And I went, okay, maybe this is my defensible zone. And I said, when the name came out, I thought it was Defensive Zone. I played around with it a little bit. And I said, maybe other people would like to benefit from this. Maybe they can. And especially companies like small businesses that are building products today and they're not sure where they should be pivoting. And that's how this whole thing came about. And the more I talk to people, the more I realize that both for individuals and for businesses, this is a critical concept that I think would really help them understand and pivot.
So we've talked about the defensible zone. So what does that do for people?
It helps them identify that zone within themselves. More importantly, it tells them if they are in their defensible zone today or not. And if they determine that they're not, it gives them an opportunity to think about pivoting to a place where they're relatively safer.
You also mentioned about business owners, because you said that, it's at that intersection between where you are good at and what is market willing to pay. So how does it translate into products?
For businesses, I think it's really important. The same parameters apply. The three types of defensibility I keep talking about is value, customer, and operational. In this case, the value defensibility is still the same. How clearly and uniquely identifiable is your offering?
Mm-hmm.
How clearly do you know? This is a tough one, actually. It's one of those things that you think is very easy, especially for companies that have been doing it for a while. But if I were to ask any company owner, what is the problem you're solving today? What is the exact problem you're solving today? Come down to brass tacks. And is your solution clear and unique to that problem? Can people tell that what you're providing as a solution to the problem is clear and unique? Second thing is the customer defensibility is how hard is it for customers to leave you? Let's say you hike your price for your product or service by 25% overnight. Will everybody ditch you? Are they there with you only because you're the cheaper alternative? If it is so, then you're in trouble, because AI is making a lot of things way cheaper. Today, for example, if you're talking to an accounting firm, there's this corner accountant sitting in their garage, and they're able to produce 3 times the work that your firm is producing with like 8 accountants. And they're able to do it faster and much cheaper than what your firm is charging. You're no longer defensible. It's just a matter of time before people find out they exist. Granted, they may be doing only 85% of what you're doing, and they may be doing it fairly okay. But people don't care. People don't care. They're like, if it's good enough and it's 80% cheaper, I'm going there.
Yeah.
Right?
And what's the third question?
The third one is operational defensibility. Is how much of this is sitting in your head? Do you take your entire business with you when you leave the door? Like when you walk out the door of your business? Is it all sitting just in your head? It's a problem. Because, I'm sorry to break it, you may not be as awesome as you think you are. And there may be other people with those ideas that may be executing them better, that may be understanding them better. So you need to have processes written down that you can examine, that your colleagues, your peers, your people that work in your company can sit and examine those processes, those concepts, those ideas, how you're executing them, be able to measure them, and be able to pinpoint inaccuracies and mistakes and things that they can improve. And I know people are afraid of sharing their knowledge, but unless you do it, I mean, it shouldn't be trust issues that are driving you to keep everything in your head. You're in a bad place. You're bad employees. So that operational defensibility is the other component that companies need to be really aware of. and that defines their zone.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are some very relevant points for people to do a deep dive to stay relevant. Because as you said that the market is changing because AI is changing every 30 seconds. What feature was dropped in yesterday? When I go and take a look at it, it's gone tomorrow. There's something new. You learned something and it's gone. So it's also becoming familiar with resilience that can handle ambiguity and uncertainty. And those type of skills are going to come into play even more so now than ever. So Dilip, we have talked a lot about it. Is there anything else you'd like to touch upon?
Just a sort of a general thing out there. Like, I know it sounds scary, and I know the media is not helping in many cases here, but I don't think it's just going to displace people. So have the confidence and faith in yourself, understand yourself, believe in yourself, and more important, like life's more than just this. And I think you said it right when you started the question off with, remember the time when people were kind to you. Be part of that kindness loop. I'll just leave with one small example, which is I went to this coffee shop the other day, and I was ordering coffee, and the lady at the counter just went, "Hey, welcome to this place. What can I get for you? How are you doing?" And I replied, "I am doing well, thank you. And how are you doing? And how is your day going?" And she just pauses for a minute, and she looks up and goes, "No one's ever asked me that all day."
Mm,
And she was telling me about her life. Like, she's a mom. This is her third job, and she has two kids. She's a single mom, and she was just like really thankful somebody paused to say, "How's your day going?"
yeah,
Yeah,
taking that
that's
moment and asking that question. And you really said something that, yes, AI is scary, but it's also we need to go back in our very recent history of 100 plus years. We went from having a lot of manual stuff to industrial age, and then we went into information, and then internet came in, and new jobs will open up. The key is, as you mentioned, not being afraid, learning where your sweet spot is, and then going for developing the skills that will help you stay ahead of AI, and it will. So, Dilip, where can people connect with you and share with us your contact information?
I'm on defensiblezone.ai. My contact info is on there as well. Dilipchetan.com is my personal website that also will take you to all these places. So this is the best place to talk to me. Defensiblezone.ai, it's just one word. And dilipchetan.com. Again, Dilip Chetan is one word.
Okay. Thank you for joining us and sharing with us your wisdom and value with our audience. Thank you, wonderful audience, for being part of our show, because without you, the show would not be possible. Reach out to us. Let us know how can we serve and support you so that you can live the life that you deserve. And thank you, Juan, our tech genius, for making the show possible. Be well and take care until next week.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.